Hey guys, how you doing? So I wanted to quickly go over some tips and tricks for the Chinese diesel heater. These are things we learned mostly from doing things wrong and from just using it over the past several months. This is not all-inclusive by any means. Unfortunately, the best way to learn how to install these is to watch multiple videos because each one has a little bit different information in it. Not contradicting necessarily, but just different things that you may not have thought of or the other person didn't mention. So we've had trouble with the diesel heater right from the start. Not the actual heater, it was the connection. So I used this, I had this splitter, 12-volt plug splitter on hand. So I used that just because I had it on hand. I didn't think it mattered. I couldn't find any information on how you really wired it, besides, obviously positive to positive and negative to negative. So I just used what I had on hand. And I got constant problems right from the start. So when I had it plugged into the goal zero, if the goal zero got down into the 80%, then it just would get an error message saying not enough power. And so it just wouldn't bring the goal zero any lower. The goal zero wouldn't let the heater run any lower. I don't know why it did that, but it seems to be we fixed that problem. So then I used the jackery, and that seemed to work better, but then I had to use the goal zero to charge the jackery, and it couldn't always keep up. Then I started having problems with the jackery, which now seem to be okay. But so I'm gonna just let you guys show you guys the plug that's working for me that I ordered on Amazon, and some other stuff that we got to help it run better. So this is the plug I ended up getting. I'll put a picture of it on the screen from Amazon. What was happening was, you know how these things, they have a spring inside, right? The spring goes in, and then the fuse, and then they screw in like this. So what was happening with the other one was, this was just a little aluminum spring, I think, and it just was getting kind of burnt. It was all shrunken up and burned, and I'm not sure if the fuse was also going too. So this actually has a copper spring, so I figured that would be helpful. And it's the highest amp fuse I could find and the thickest gauge wire I could find. We've had this now for 2 or 3 weeks, and it's been working great. It comes with a couple extra fuses, and you just wire it positive to positive, negative to negative. I used just little connectors. I'll show you those. These are the connectors I used to actually connect the wires together. I cut the ends off the plug, and I used the 16 to 14, which are the blue ones. So you just stick the wire in, crimp it down, and then I covered it with duct tape. The good thing about this, the other one was really loose. If you just bumped it, it would disconnect. This one is extremely tight, so once it's in there, it's in there. It's in there well. So another major problem we had with this was the heating duct became disconnected from its little vent. I'll insert a video of us changing it out. Look at how burnt the floor is from the ductwork from the heater. So besides the fact that the heater duct was burning the floor, this is the ductwork that comes to the Chinese heater. It actually shrunk up. We just pulled it and straightened it out, but it's just really cheap, and it shrunk up, so that's why it pulled off the back of this, because it had a clamp. So what we're going to do is we bought an 88-cent tile at Lowe's, 4-inch wide, 12-inch long, and that fits in there, and that'll protect the floor. And we got a new piece of ductwork. It's a 3-inch diameter, and it goes to 8 feet. So we can just stretch it out, and it'll clamp to here. And there's where the heater is, so it's going to clamp to there. And it's going to turn this corner right here. And this goes this way. Well, that's nice. So instead of most of it coming out here, it was just being dispersed everywhere. That's why I put the water here, because it was actually making all the water warm. Anything here would get really warm. I had a pair of sneakers here. It actually melted them. So it would come up the back of here. But you know, it still kept the van warm, but it's not ideal. It's so nice out here today. There's some things you want to really be careful of. Make sure when you mount your tank that you allow room to come in with the gas pump and stick it in here. You got to have enough room up in this area. So keep that in mind. What I would do if I was you is I would replace all the components that came with it. Everything that comes with it is very cheap. The clamps we ended up replacing. This actually was leaking, so we had to use some type of epoxy up in there. That's in the other video that when we installed it. Hopefully you heard my story about how that broke and got 10 liters of diesel fuel all over the van. So all these things, the fuel filter, the clamps, we didn't replace the tubing. I don't know if they have that. I also put a picture up of what my diesel heater looks like, because they're all a little bit different. We had heard that if you mount this kind of hanging, then it makes less noise, so that's worked out well. Now, I guess this is supposed to be at a 45-degree angle. I heard one person say that, but mine really isn't, so I have to do something about that. But you may even want to replace the fuel pump. And look at these little clamps. We didn't replace these ones. They're very cheap. Also, when you watch some videos, you'll notice some of these controllers look a little bit different. So just go by the buttons that they tell you to press. Sometimes they're on different sides. You cannot change this to Fahrenheit, so don't even try. The lowest it goes is 8 degrees Celsius. That's about 46 degrees Fahrenheit. It does not ever totally shut down. If you put it on 8 degrees Celsius, it's still going to run. It just goes into like a standby mode and just puts out a little bit of heat. Sometimes that is too warm though, so you have to shut it off all the way. Here's the muffler for it. I don't know if you can't really tell, but it has a little drip. See the water right there? It has a little drip opening right there. So you have to make sure the muffler is facing down so that condensation can drip out. Also, you'll probably need a longer exhaust pipe. So we had bought a separate piece. They sell them on Amazon. That starts way in front of the tire, and we wanted to bring it behind. Because the air that comes out of this exhaust is extremely hot. You don't want it blowing right on your tires or anything important. Hopefully that helps anybody that's going to install one of these heaters. I do recommend the heater itself. Just if you could change out some of the components or all of the components, I think you'd have less trouble, or at least have a spare handy. But I think if it's something where the diesel fuel could leak out, that's very important to change before you install it. I'll have the links in the description of some of these extra spare parts, but make sure that they work for you, because I didn't use anything from Amazon yet. We bought the ductwork from Lowe's, so you can probably, and also the fuel filter we got at O'Reilly's, so you can also probably just find this stuff locally. But if you do use the links, then make sure it works for your heater. Check into it a little bit more. Alright, well I hope this helps somebody, and thanks for watching. Take care.